Hey, how's it going? I have cards, and I just want to say that there's been a lot of, I guess, kind of devastating information that's been revealed with the release of the Epstein files here in the United States. There's a lot of views on that release. Not gonna even worry about that. But what it has done is gotten everybody into an uproar, and I can kind of feel that. And then I think on top of that, and by the way, that's like a huge burst of people awakening all at once, which is the kind of thing that's known to trigger what's not known. There is information out there pointing to that many people awakening at once, creating a force that puts people closer, puts us all closer to the solar blast. Solar blast? What is the thing called again? Oh gosh. Flash, sorry. Solar flash. What'd I say, blast? Well, anyway, flash is the common term. And the only reason I can speak with any authority on what I just said is because of watching the videos from our visitors, our brothers from another planet. So, oh, brothers, sorry. Anyway, I'm old. That was a movie reference to Brother from Another Planet. Actually, the movie is called Hi, Look at My Signs, Please. Okay, that's about enough of that. So, so not only is that got everybody by the short curlies or something, like people are kind of freaking out, and I really don't know why anyone should be surprised. Well, I mean, the level, just a little bit that's gotten out today, that squeaked out, is pretty horrifying if you didn't see it coming at all. And so, and then the other thing is the solar activity, possibly connected with the solar flash, very probably actually, because I think they said it was. The visitors, our brothers from another planet, and they I mean, they made a video talking about it, like, we're getting closer. So, and that's a big deal, because that's like, I don't know that we should look for, like, you know, we have to put on really dark glasses. I don't think it's that kind of thing. I think it takes place, like, off planet in the space, but I do think that we will feel it. I think, you know, like the activity of, it's now the next day from what I still think of as today, and well, let me check the date, because I should know this. It's now the 3rd, okay, of February 2026, and so, yeah, the sort of solar space weather forecast is plasma jets coming out of the sun, I guess in big whopping ropes or something, but I know that it's detected, and will, like, when it has the explosion go off or whatever, ignite, I guess, it takes a minute to get here, to reach us. But, you know, I definitely felt it coming before it started making me feel crazy. Because I felt like I had static all over my whole body. And I'm just mentioning that because possibly other people watching have as well. And you know, I don't know, like, you're not the only one. So I have some cards, I have a lot of cards, actually. So I have some from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck, and the first one is, come here, number 20 card, rather, excuse me, and it's Feast of Plenty. The subtitle is Choices and Their Consequences. I think it's so perfect because we did get that dump of information Friday. It's Tuesday now. Well, wait. Yeah, it's Tuesday now. And so, usually you get those Friday dumps of information, or news rather. And that's where the term comes from, or at least that's where I got it from. The Friday dump. Because they just throw a bunch of stuff that they hope will get lost over the weekend. And they being like, right now I specifically mean the administration in the United States, but it could be, you know, other groups that create news and have something unflattering come out that they don't want really, you know, widely publicized. And so I think it's safe to say that some things came out today about some people, and they're low-key flipping out. So there seems to be a crystal ball on there, and there's like these swords of like truth sticking in there, and when I first looked at it, I got like too much information for some of us. They would prefer that not be clear, and so that's a pretty big crystal ball. Like it would, like a TARDIS, hold an awful lot of information, or also like a crystal, which I think connected to something I was thinking about and looking at earlier, and the thought crossed my mind that we don't really understand the computational utility of crystals very well. I mean, some of us do, but, you know, for a lot of us, it's like a pretty rock, and we don't really endow it with much critical, well, computation skills for one thing. They're like a storage battery in a way. They have other facilities, like they communicate with some people. They change their entire form in the presence of some people that I guess really connect with them. So there is a type of communication that definitely is not taking place universally. And so what I made a connection with us misunderstanding like what exactly a crystal can do, like what its capabilities are, because I was watching a video from the Galactic Light Federation, and they were talking about Noah's Ark and the reality of the situation versus what we're told. And I know if you're like me, when you heard that story, even as a kid, it was like, how do you get them all into like a wooden boat that these dudes grew? And my problem was all of like the like pictures in the Bible that I'd seen of the area when they were talking about the story. I was like, there was no tree. I'd be like, where are you getting the wood from? And then later, like many years later, you know, of course DNA makes sense that they would bring like that many creatures together in one vessel. You could only do it if they had like DNA samples. But we didn't know that. Certainly when I first heard the story when I was a little bitty kid, I didn't have the computing capacity to understand that at all. So, and then I think we just kind of leave it there. But, you know, as I got older and just began to seek information on my own, where you're just looking at like history and a lot of science fiction and sort of like ancient alien type history where it's like, oh, we're going to ridicule that so you don't take it seriously, when that's a tactic to make you not take it seriously, because it is actually serious. They said a great thing in that video too, and it was, power doesn't hide the powerless, it hides what changes the map. Which is, I thought, awesome, because, it came out like the same day as the Epstein files came out, and it's so apt. So, okay, the subtitle on this card, by the way, is Choices and Their Consequences. So, a lot of people decided to compromise themselves, and how did they all miss the fact that, like, this is a perfect setup for me to get compromised and blackmailed. Unless they just wanted to be doing what they were doing, which, yuck, overpowering little persons that are not literally powerful to save themselves, and then just being around. It's not just this. It's like I've been saying, I've been watching that Black Tube where they're talking about all this Diddy stuff, but they're not separate incidents. Like, they're like different offices, different branches. It's like a franchise. It like is a franchise, because what has been kind of hidden from us, then there's a lot of information about it, because there's a lot of people involved in it, is the business of all of the trafficking. Trafficking. I'm gonna have a heart attack, It's so disturbing. Sorry about whatever. I'm not sorry. So the next card is number 19. From 20, we go to 19. Okay. And this card is Falling Angel. So, not Fallen. And the subtitle on this one is Spiritual Narcolepsy. So I'm actually going to read what it says in the book about this card before I talk about it. Hold on while I grab that. Okay, so it says, you are being cautioned now to not fall asleep or go unconscious. You've been flying above the strife and suffering of the world in angelic bliss. However, you risk being seduced by the beauty and comfort of your situation and losing track of your aspirations, your wings. As you fall, you pick up speed, heading toward the trees below and a possible nasty landing. Remember that all you need to do to stop being a falling angel is to spread your wings to halt your descent and then find an updraft again. Do not be seduced by the fallen angels, your supposed friends and companions who are ready to use you for their pleasure and have only their own interest in mind. I'm just going to interject to say, which is going to leave your ass out in the cold or on the hook for something because you perhaps didn't realize you were in a situation where you could be blackmailed. Okay, as you soar once more in flight, receive the gift of the falling angel as an invitation to study the forest from above the trees. In other words, to analyze your situation from a higher perspective without being entangled in its thorny branches. Once you understand what needs to be done, head back to your lofty heights and stand by for the right moment. Action you take now may backfire. Stay conscious and wait until you're guided to change. So, when the smoke clears, if you're able to extricate yourself from something sticky and prickly and thorny, maybe just stay back until and unless you are called. And keep your nose clean. Jeez, people, come on. You will know when the time is ripe. You may be called to speak. seems like the next progression, because hold on, let me get this thing out of the way. Okay, just go there. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you might know a bunch of stuff that's been obscured. You might be able to give some of the too much information to prevent your descent, and then you can have the opportunity to rise again, rise above. Okay, next card is number 28, Hollow Bone, and the subtitle is Teachability. So if it's not clear, like, those are all some sort of I guess elk parts, and every bit of it, by every bit of an animal, it looks like indigenous American iconography. So they would have used every bit of the animal so that, you know, they didn't just waste its life by taking it away. That is a tradition, I believe, and so many probably indigenous peoples all over the world probably had a tradition of, you know, being grateful for what you could get from the beast that sacrificed itself for you. Because even with an animal in that situation, there can be a co-creation, or there is a co-creation. Sorry, I don't get to see the top of my head often. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, I'll have to get somebody to look at it for me tomorrow. Okay, anyway, so teachability. Okay, I think we're in one of those moments, and there's so many aspects to learn from, because, like, there, I guess, are all of these people that are going to be coming to light that made sort of, well, bad decisions, and they, you know, made a sacrifice that perhaps they didn't understand, because it sounds like a devil's bargain, and there is a lot of talk about, you know, worshiping Satan and all of that stuff. And so, I mean, I don't know if this is true understood by everyone everywhere, but I know here in the United States, where the leading is heavily Christian, like even before these Christian nationalist times, enough so that in cartoons you saw iconography of, like, the good angel on someone's shoulder, and the bad angel, and the person in between that has to, like, listen to both and make a sacrifice. And so it's also well known that if you are making a deal with the devil, that they're going to come back around one day, you know, wanting the favor returned. And that's when, if you haven't already, to sort of sweeten the deal, you have to make sacrifices. And that sacrifices are not those unless it's the loss of something you very much care about and is meaningful to you. And that's the kind of weird and awful cruelty, that type of deal, should you make one, that's what you face. And so what I'm saying is the deal will end and the good times will end, and you could become the sacrifice, that the ultimate one, like. And so it just seems like, no, I don't think that, like, we all have to go out and experience that for themselves. I mean,